Okay, so again, I was reading Psychological Types, and there's a warning at the end of chapter 10 that Jung makes about a therapist causing dependency on the person they're giving therapy to, and he says exactly how the dependency happens, and it led me to make a connection between that and what I've noticed power couple types are. So power, I'll just start with that. Power couple types I've noticed are usually someone who's on the same coin. They have the same functions, but and their second function is the demon or the inferior function of the other, and vice versa. So, given an example, let's take this ISFJ, right? His inferior function is NE, right? So an ISFJ and an INTP might work really good together because this INTP, that's his second function. So he can see and he has access to this bad function here. Okay, so he makes this warning about if you're a therapist and you have this. Okay, so if you're a therapist and you have this, and it could be here and here, and that's your third function, but like this is the most optimal spot. So a therapist that does this and is helping the person see his NE, right? So it's helping this ISFJ see their NE, and he's helping him get through it. What he's doing is he's making this ISFJ dependent on him. Okay, this INTP is making the ISFJ dependent on him, and he says what happens when the therapy ends. He's no longer able to use this TI and of the therapist in order to help him get access to this, right? So he's using the therapist TI to balance these two functions, and the same thing happens in power couples. They become completely dependent on one another to see, right? One person can see the other person's missing function, and so one person will rely on the other person for their own balance, right? And so you'll get this dependency on one another, and together you each have the missing pieces of the puzzle that the other person is missing, and so in this way you become completely dependent but completely successful together, as long as you're always honest with each other and doing that sort of relationship with each other. But that's for a power couple that stays together. Someone who is a therapist is really preparing the individual to not be dependent on them, to leave the therapy and be a whole and complete person, right? So if this person is completely relying on you to balance your functions for you, you'll never be free if you're completely relying. So you're relying on this other person's TI, and you're completely dependent on this person's TI, this INTP's TI for the ISFJ to balance your two functions. So I just wanted to say something about that. That's how Jung says dependence in therapy is developed, and he treats it very, very negatively, and he gives a very stern warning to any therapists who are going to be using his cognitive science. Just be careful about that, because you can really do damage to a person by making them dependent on you like that. Okay? Have a good one. Bye. Oh, like and subscribe, of course. Bye.